If you follow boxing or are a boxer yourself, you've likely heard the saying, timing beats speed. And while many people repeat the great sayings of our favorite fighters, trainers, and commentators, how many of us can actually apply these gems to our own fighting, to our own training, to our own coaching? Let's look at a practical example where we can isolate and see the phrase timing beats speed work in front of our eyes in a high-level fight. Joe Smith Jr. has a terrible habit of disengaging and jumping up into the air with his chin exposed. He's not in a position to punch, and it's a mental reset that Dmitry Bivol is able to exploit. We can see in the first 30 seconds, Joe Smith is able to push Dmitry Bivol back with a pretty good amount of success. The first time Dmitry Bivol is able to eat up space is right after Joe Smith disengages right here. The moment Joe Smith disengages, he's just hopping up into the air. He's not in a position to punch, and he's not taking adequate distance. Dmitry Bivol immediately comes in. At this point in the fight, less than 30 seconds into the fight, he doesn't commit to the attack, but he does feint and he does come in with a step. This makes Joe Smith react and overreact because he's exploiting a mental lapse. Joe Smith is not ready to punch, and he's used to people giving him that time to reset. It's a bad habit that Dmitry Bivol is going to be able to exploit all throughout the fight. So when we think back to the saying, timing beats speed, one way of thinking about that as a boxer is, when should I attack my opponent? Dmitry Bivol has an answer to this question. It's whenever Joe Smith resets. That's going to be an opportunity to attack the opposition, and my opponent is not going to be ready. So there's a huge likelihood that I'll be able to catch them off guard, and I won't have to worry about return fire. So we can see in this sequence, Dmitry is very patient, and he's waiting as Joe Smith is actually on the front foot at the beginning of this clip. Joe Smith abandons that pressure and goes to a mental reset, jumping up in the air with his chin high, not in a position to punch. The moment Dmitry Bivol sees that, the time to punch becomes clear. And we can see through these clips, and we're going to go through a bunch of them, that time and time again, that's when he initiates his offense, as Joe Smith is finishing his reset. Here's another example. In order for timing to beat speed, you have to be disciplined, attacking at the right time. So Dmitry Bivol is not going to initiate offense at the wrong time. Right here, Joe Smith is coming forward, applying a good amount of pressure in a high guard position. Dmitry remains patient. He fences with the lead arm, throws a couple light jabs to stop the momentum of Joe Smith, but nothing serious. He's not committing to any serious attack. The moment Joe Smith decides he wants to reset, you can see immediately Dmitry Bivol comes in and is able to land a combination. So as a coach or as a fighter, if this is your fight, say you're Joe Smith and you're wondering why you lost to Dmitry Bivol, you need to see that this entire sequence was started by one thing, your mental reset, and Dmitry Bivol being astute enough to capitalize off that mistake. So if you're Joe Smith, you're in a great position here, walking Dmitry Bivol back to the ropes. That's where you want him. Your whole training camp, you were probably trying to force a situation where Dmitry Bivol is on the ropes and you can work. You're getting close to that. You decide to take a break. Dmitry Bivol understands that this is the time to attack and take advantage of that mental reset of Joe Smith's chin up in the air, not in a position to punch. And by the time he lands, Dmitry Bivol is going to be on him. And a 1, 2, 3, and a jab for good measure. That entire sequence was created by that mental reset and Dmitry Bivol being able to take advantage of it. Joe Smith goes to bounce up, and we see what Dmitry saw there. We can almost look inside his mind. Joe Smith didn't do the full reset, but for a second there, it looked like he was. So Dmitry feels confident in attacking. And because Joe Smith was a little bit more compact, it was a little bit less of a reset, Smith's defense was better in this sequence. But we can almost look inside the mind of Dimitri and see what he's looking for. Is Smith going to make that mental break? Oh, it looks like it. Okay, I'll attack. Here's another example. Smith coming with offense, a double jab, head off the line, things that your coach tells you to do. And then, as it falls short, there's the reset. Dimitri doesn't make him pay for it that time. But you can see he takes mental breaks. And that jumping up in the air, the feet are coming square, he's not in a position to punch. And he's going to be constantly surprised by this, as Dimitri Bivol really counterpunches him off a reset throughout this entire fight. Here's another example as we just let this clip play. Smith keeps pressuring. You can see there's another reset right there that Dimitri doesn't take advantage of, but he does take the space up. Smith comes again, tries for a left hook. Now look at the reset after the missed punch. It's coming. There's the reset. Look at the reset after the missed punch. Look at the foot position of Joe Smith. No power is going to be generated by that foot position. Bivol understands this, and he understands this is now the time to attack again. And there's a left hook. Here's another example that's eerily similar to the last one. Joe Smith comes with a double jab. It doesn't work, and he mentally gives up. He goes for a walk, hands down, jumping in the air. Dimitri Bivol isn't going to allow him to do that, so he takes up the space immediately. And now look at the geography of the fight. If we rewind this clip 3 or 4 seconds previously, Joe Smith's pushing Dimitri Bivol back to the ropes. We go 2 seconds later, Joe Smith is on the ropes. So geography in a fight is very important, and attacking at the right time can stop someone who's coming forward and reverse that. Someone that, in a logical sense, should be on the back foot, Bivol, is now on the front foot, pressuring Joe Smith, who is the puncher in this situation. Here's the sequence again. Hopefully you guys are seeing this. There's the reset. Bivol's going to attack. And when there's not that reset, he's not attacking in the large majority of the fight. With Bivol moving laterally, Joe Smith wants to bounce, thinking that Bivol's not in range. Boom, jab. Step back from the left hook. Then after a missed punch, we've seen this before, Joe Smith is just going to reset and console himself. Right? Jumping, hands down. Bivol is not. He's always switched on, and he's always ready to punch at a good distance. And he's able to get in another 1, 2, 3. And a jab. And more. So as a fighter, this whole sequence, from right here on, from right there, a 1, 2, 3, a jab, 3, 4 jabs, a right hand, a couple more jabs. That whole sequence of scoring shots was created by that reset of Joe Smith and the understanding of timing by Bivol. There's so many examples of this exact same sequence going through a fight, and that's often the case in fights. Fighters tend to make the same mistakes over and over again, and if there's someone that can capitalize it, we get into a situation where the layman is going to feel like someone was exposed. So what are they exposing? Here's one of the things. A jumping reset. Not in position to punch. Taking seconds off the fight. And if your opponent allows you to do it, you never notice it. Right? Joe Smith maybe even doesn't realize consciously that he's doing this. But Bivol sees him and he realizes that he's doing it. So here's another sequence right there. That jab comes in. And mentally, if you're in a fight and you take those seconds off and someone else doesn't allow you to rest, that jab mentally hurts more than a normal jab because you're used to taking those seconds off and mentally having a break. So someone's pushing you mentally, that jab tires you out more than an ordinary jab would. Another sequence, same thing. Smith comes with offense, and after it doesn't land how he wants to, he gives up his position and his base. He breaks his base, goes with this reset, and Bivol makes him pay for it.